Welcome to another deep dive. I love it when we get to explore something like this. You brought this beautiful song to the table, Choti Choti Gaiya.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. On the surface, it's just a simple, sweet little song.
hmm
But it's amazing how much depth there really is to this piece. We're going to be looking at everything from selfless service
Right.
to the power of community
Yeah.
to even that special bond between a mother and a daughter and the healing that can come from that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think of it almost like, we're going to kind of unpack or peel back the layers of this song together
Yeah.
and really look at how it kind of shines a light on, what it really means to give without expecting anything in return, what it means to surrender to a guiding wisdom, the force of shared faith, and then, yeah, the just really deeply personal connection between a mother and daughter.
So Choti Choti Gaya, it paints this picture. It's this very vivid scene of Madan Gopal with these young cowherds and their cows. And right away, what jumped out to me in the material you sent was this concept of sewa,
Right.
or selfless service. It's not just, doing something nice for someone. It's there's something more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's so insightful, I think, is that Soa goes beyond just the action itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's really all about that intention behind it, about offering, whether it's your effort, your time, your resources, without any expectation of getting anything in return, any recognition, any reward.
Mm-hmm.
And in the context of, this particular song, it's such a direct expression of love and devotion. And you see that mirrored, just as the cowherds care for the cows, devotees really cultivate that same nurturing spirit
Yeah.
for their spiritual community as a whole.
It's interesting because it's not just about my individual journey.
Right.
It's about the whole.
Yeah,
How does that shift in focus really impact somebody?
that's such a good question. I think when you start to really shift your perspective, away from that really self-centered kind of lens, and you start to engage in Sewa, it has this way of transforming your whole understanding of connection and empathy. It's almost like you start to break down the walls of your own ego a little bit, and you start to really see the needs of others in the community. And that's when you really foster this deep sense of interdependence, like we're all in this together. There's a shared purpose, and that honestly enriches everyone, yourself included, but in ways that you don't even expect.
No, another really powerful theme that stood out was surrendering to Guruji.
hmm
And the material was very clear about this. It's not giving up. It's not saying I quit.
Right.
It's about this really profound act of faith
Yeah.
and trust.
Mm.
And it kind of connects that idea back to the repetition in the song Choti Choti Gaya.
Right.
How does that simplicity, that repetition, how does that feed into the idea of surrender?
I think that's such a fascinating connection. If you think about, young child, the way they trust their parent, right? Such a simple, uncomplicated faith. And in a way, the repetition of Choti Choti Gaya, it's almost like this mental anchor. It draws the devotee away from like overthinking, anxieties, all that complex stuff. And it kind of brings them back to that really simple, pure place. It's about cultivating that same childlike trust where you're kind of letting go of the need to control, how things are going to unfold. It's like opening yourself up to this wisdom that's beyond you. And, it just allows that divine guidance to really enter.
So the simplicity almost becomes a pathway
Yeah,
to letting go.
exactly. It's
Uh-huh.
it's like clearing out the clutter, so to
Yeah.
speak, so that you can be much more receptive to the guidance and blessings that are there, They're waiting for you.
Now, we can't talk about the song without talking about the community aspect. This isn't a solitary kind of reflection. It really resonates within this shared experience. And you sent some really interesting stuff about satsang gatherings.
Mm.
What is it like to be in one of these gatherings? What happens there that really kind of reinforces this idea of community?
If you think about it, like zooming out a little bit, satsang is where the individual kind of threads of faith come together, and they become this strong tapestry, right? And it's a gathering where devotees aren't just passively listening, they're actively sharing their own experiences of how this faith has touched their lives. So it could be, maybe a story about how they overcame a challenge, or a moment where they had some really profound insight, or even just the feeling of deep peace that they experienced during their spiritual practice.
I was like sharing those individual stories.
Yeah.
That then builds up the strength.
Absolutely, because think about it, if somebody's sharing their experience of how their faith really brought them solace during a tough time, it doesn't just resonate with the people who've maybe gone through something similar. It kind of reinforces the power of the whole belief system itself. It's like you're not alone on this journey. It's tangible proof of that support that exists within the community. And those stories, they become anchors for this shared faith. It's
Yeah.
really powerful.
And there seems to be this sense of nourishment that comes from that connection to Guruji and to the community.
Mm.
And the text draws this parallel. It talks about the cows thriving in the song.
Right.
And then it connects that to the devotees nourishing their souls.
Yeah.
Where does this spiritual sustenance come from?
That's a great question. And what's so insightful, I think, is that, just as we need, our physical bodies need food to thrive, our inner being, our soul, also needs nourishment, right? It needs to be fed.
Mm.
And what the text suggests is that this comes from actively engaging in our spiritual practices, whether it's through meditation, through prayer, through chanting, singing devotional songs like Choti Choti Gaiya together, And when you participate in these rituals as a community, it almost amplifies that spiritual energy.
Mm.
And it creates this kind of wellspring that nourishes each individual soul.
There's also this beautiful, beautiful imagery in the text about Guruji's fragrance.
Yeah.
And it's described as this kind of symbol of divine presence, like this, like you can almost feel it. Can you talk a little bit more about what that might feel like for someone?
They talk about this fragrance. It's not necessarily a literal scent that you'd smell, but instead, think of it more as a pervasive feeling. It's like an almost tangible sense of the divine presence. So maybe it's that feeling of profound peace or this like overwhelming love or even, just like this unexpected moment of clarity or insight that people often associate with their connection to Guruji. It's that feeling of being truly seen and blessed. And it's often felt very strongly during, communal prayers, maybe celebratory gatherings, or even just in moments of quiet personal reflection when that connection feels most profound.
It's like an inner knowing.
Yeah, it's a very real experience.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of, these really profound experiences, the text also mentions miracles of faith.
Wow.
And it seems like these aren't just like rare occurrences for devotees.
Mm-hmm.
How does the message of the song connect to this idea of miracles?
That's such an important point. And I think it really raises this interesting point about the power of belief and expectation.
Right.
So the text kind of frames these miracles, whether it's answered prayers or maybe a moment of unexpected healing or even like a really profound shift in perspective. It frames them as being really intertwined with an unwavering faith.
Mm-hmm.
And the song, with that focus on devotion and surrender, it really cultivates the fertile ground for these miracles to occur. And I think, the joy and the gratitude that's expressed in the lyrics, it often reflects that experience of, witnessing those blessings, receiving them.
Yeah.
And then that, of course, strengthens this collective belief in the miraculous. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Which leads us really beautifully into this idea of shukrana, or expressing gratitude.
Yeah.
The text really emphasizes this as being essential to devotion.
Absolutely.
So how does something as seemingly simple as this song, Choti Choti Gaiya, how does it function as a way to express gratitude? Well, think of it this way. The act itself of singing this song, especially within a community, becomes this heartfelt offering of thanks. It's a way for them to collectively express their appreciation for all of the things they've received, the guidance, the blessings, the love that they feel connected to through Guruji.
Oh.
And so it's like acknowledging all of that. And it's a way to reinforce their commitment to that path, to that journey. It's almost like shukrana, It's like shukrana in musical form.
Now, the conversation then takes this really beautiful turn when it starts to talk about healing through a mother's love. And it specifically highlights the song offering comfort to daughters.
Yeah.
Which is a really unique and interesting connection to make. I think what's so resonant about that is that it's recognizing that unique bond, that really often unbreakable bond between a mother and her daughter. And the song carries with it this deep current of nurturing love, almost like a mother's embrace, which, can be so healing, especially during those difficult times, those emotional transitions that daughters experience throughout their lives.
Yeah.
It's almost like this familiar lullaby,
Mm-hmm.
It reminds them that there's this constant source of love and support there.
And it even gives some specific examples, right? Like navigating relationships or even going through the pain of a divorce.
Right.
How do those themes in the song offer solace in these really specific situations?
I think in moments of heartache or uncertainty, those core messages,
Yeah.
right? Like that unconditional love, that unwavering support, the strength you find in those bonds, it becomes so powerful. It reminds you that there's that foundational love that a mother provides, which can be so essential for healing and for building resilience.
Yeah.
But like it's whispering, you are loved, you're supported, you're not alone. And in those times of upheaval, that can be so grounding.
It's beautiful how it goes even beyond the individual and kind of looks at the family as a whole.
Mhm.
The text talks about how important that mother's support is during these really tough family transitions,
Yeah.
like a divorce. How does the song fit into that?
It really does underscore how vital those emotional connections are within a family and that shared history, especially during something as painful and disruptive as separation and divorce.
Hmm.
And the song, I think in this context, it acts as this gentle reminder of the love that endures within the family, even amidst all the change.
Yeah.
And that a mother's support, that unwavering support that's mirrored in the song, can be so instrumental in easing the pain. It helps to foster resilience, and it ultimately contributes to the healing of all the family members involved
Hmm.
because it creates this sense of continuity, of love, even though things are shifting and changing.
And that healing isn't just contained within the family, is it? The text even talks about community healing.
Yeah.
So, how does a song like this, how does this shared experience contribute to that wider sense of well-being?
I think what's so significant is that it recognizes that, personal struggles, we don't have to face them alone, right?
Yeah.
And the community, through shared experiences, through that collective support, it creates a really safe and nurturing space for people to heal. And so singing a song like Choti Choti Gaiya together, it reinforces that sense of belonging, that sense of shared humanity, and it reminds you that healing is often a shared journey, and that there's so much strength and comfort that we could find in that collective empathy, in that understanding.
It sounds like all of these cultural practices, the music, the dancing, the rituals, it's all woven together with this spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And they're almost like these guides.
Absolutely. They're not just like decorative additions,
Right.
They're woven into the fabric of this experience.
Yeah.
And so they provide this framework, this shared language of devotion that helps people navigate those different spiritual and emotional transitions that life throws our way.
So for you listening right now, it sounds like this whole tapestry, the community, the teachings, the power of a mother's love, it all comes together to offer this very real guidance and support during times of change and challenge.
Absolutely. It's almost like, those themes of love and devotion, service, community, they're not just abstract concepts anymore,
Mhm.
right? They become like a compass. They offer you solace. They offer you strength, a sense of belonging as you navigate all the ups and downs, the twists and turns that life throws your way.
As we kind of wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that Choti Choti Gaya is not just a sweet little song.
Right,
It's
right.
so much more. It's this really beautiful expression of divine love,
Mhm.
the power that we find in community, that very personal spiritual journey that we each go through, and even the healing power of a mother's love.
Absolutely.
It highlights the importance of selfless service, that faith in our guides, that transformative power, the shared experiences that bind us together, and that unwavering support, especially from a mother.
What's so beautiful to me is that, these seemingly simple cultural expressions, like a song, passed down through generations, they can carry so much meaning.
Hmm.
They offer us guidance. They offer us comfort, a deep sense of connection.
And that brings us to our final thought